Hi, I'm Brittany Campbell Turner. I am the CEO and founder of Constructrr and the host of the Constructrr podcast. I also am the workplace innovation and construction manager at American Family Insurance. I'm part of the Construction and Blockchain Consortium, part of the USA Steering Committee, and I'm happy to join you.
Thank you very much. You are a busy woman. My first question is, how did you or why did you get into the blockchain space?
Yes, it's a very atypical journey, I would imagine, from many other people who've entered into the blockchain space. I have been working in the built environment space using any opportunity I can to infuse innovation and technology and better data management and controls the entire time I've been part of this industry. And I went down a path about learning about lean, coming from the manufacturing side of things, and learned about a community actually that talks about lean construction specifically. And there was a lot of talk about how to build trust, transparency, eliminate waste, and find opportunities to utilize the data at hand that's
Mhm.
produced out of the project in order to build stronger relationships to have better outcomes.
Okay.
So I went down that path of learning about it, learning about lean, and I came upon a video on YouTube and heard someone mention blockchain, and they started saying these same terms: trust, transparency, uh, elimination of waste. And I was like, wait a minute, that sounds very familiar. What is this blockchain thing? And so I started down the path of just trying to figure out what that is, what it was, what the technology looked like, how it
Mm.
worked, how people could start to use smart contracts with this. Once
Mm.
I learned smart contracts and how you can attach a an expectation or a promise to a transaction, and it would be immutable on the blockchain, I said, "This is brilliant.
Mm.
I need to fully understand this." So I went down the path of just learning everything I could. So that's how I got introduced into to blockchain.
Wow, that's awesome. That's great. And I love the fact that you come from a different background, right? You come from construction. And since you're talking about lean, I'm assuming you're also a project manager or were a project manager at some point. Okay. So you're coming from that background and solid foundation. And then you realize that there's a tool, a technical tool that you can use. And, the light bulb starts shining. That's awesome. So, what does blockchain mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, in the simplest sense, it's an immutable ledger that allows you to transact information in a way that allows for any individual who's tied to that blockchain to
Mm.
have access to that data based upon the permissions that they're allowed. And um, once you infuse the smart contract capability, you can attach promises to any of those transactions. Obviously, there's nuances between public and private, enterprise and not. Um, you know the different consensus models, but in a simplest sense, that's what blockchain is to me.
Okay, okay. And I assume for your line of business, like you mentioned, supply chain is very important. And, I've heard quite a lot of ladies that I've interviewed talk about the supply chain aspect, whether it's agriculture or some other industry. So for construction, what does that look like for you?
Yeah. um, Supply chain is just one aspect of it, but it is definitely a part of it. But the way I look at it for the built environment, not just limiting it to construction alone, there are so many relationships uh, so many transactions that take place as a result of those relationships, contractual relationships that you have to embark in order to execute from A to Z a project. So if there's any leasing that takes place, that information can be verified and approved on a blockchain. Uh,
Yeah.
when you hire an architect, and this is something that many people are still very much working on, you can tie those commitments to the actual design
Mm.
because that contract can be tied to a deliverable in a digital way. And all
Mm.
designs are digital now, right?
Yes.
No one's using paper
Okay.
plans or anything like that, right? And so you can to determine whether that design is meeting a need
Mm.
or not based upon whether it's meeting and can be validated per an existing contract, right? Again, like I said, it's a little bit more complex. Machine learning needs to be pulled into that, but there are many people in the construction blockchain space that's trying to figure this out. Um, construction, really simple. You can tie um, you can tie any process that you can connect to an IoT device
Mm.
to checking to see if something's verified or not.
Yeah.
It and approving it and releasing payment, right? That's a really
Mhm.
simple thing to do. I mean, right now we approve payments based on percentage completion, which is kind of arbitrary, right? People walk through the space or they take pictures and they say, yeah, we think it's about 50% complete, 35% complete. But there's nothing specific tied to that number other than a visual review.
Mm.
If you tie it to um, AI, or if you tie it to your point about supply chain, specific um, materials delivered and specific hours spent by every single personnel that was on that site, you
Mhm.
can have a much more accurate approach to payments.
Mm.
So
Okay.
there are individuals working on that, and then last but not least, the management of the facilities management. You can tie service contracts to blockchain. Um, and if a light bulb goes out and it's on warranty, it'll ping the person who's supposed to fix it. You don't even have to talk to the person. You can have the smart contract work for you. So these are some of the things that I've talked about in presentations over the past couple of years about how blockchain could work for the built environment. Some people are working on some things. Some are more complex than others. But this is the opportunity that I see for the built environment and blockchain.
I love it. I love it because it's really bringing it home, right? When we start to think about the different everyday use cases for blockchain. I never really thought about the fact that, for building management, if a light bulb goes out, you're waiting for the residents to contact the landlord, but however, you can tie it into the supply chain and or the sorry, the blockchain technology, and it would automatically, like you said, ping an individual, and next thing you know, it's already done before you even had a second thought about it.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Well, and the way I see blockchain too, just to elaborate slightly, is blockchain is great as a standalone technology, but when it
Mhm.
integrates with others like IoT, AI, machine learning,
Yeah,
that's where the power comes in.
yeah,
And that's why I think it's really interesting as a technology to pursue. Um, there's so much more that I could expound upon, but that's really how I see it tying to the built environment at the crux of it.
awesome. So how far away are we?
Uh, there's been a lot of attempts
Hmm.
and people giving up, um, and people pivoting after being capable to some degree, and then saying, "Well, people aren't buying this," kind of thing. So, I think that there are individuals on the grind. I myself am one of them.
Okay.
To develop a product, but I'm not ready to release and talk about it quite yet.
Okay.
But I do think that um, there are major opportunities to find efficiencies around utilizing blockchain for commitments.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think there's so many, I mean, there's so many contracts that have been transitioned over to a blockchain. Very small commitments. It could be something as simple as an NDA, and it's worked flawlessly.
Okay.
And it's just a matter of kind of understanding what does that look like when it comes to a more complex
Mhm.
contract type. Yeah.
Mhm. Nice, nice. It's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So, my last question is, how do you see blockchain improving the Black community and African diaspora as a whole?
Yeah. I love this question,
Mhm.
Alienka.
Thank you.
I I had to really think about this, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around the opportunities because I think there are many.
Mhm.
One thing that I've learned over the years, having gone to a bunch of a bunch of events around blockchain, is that it almost it gives you an opportunity to flatten the hierarchy, level the
Mm.
playing field to some degree, because what blockchain allows for is for you to track data
Mhm.
in a way where it's linked without bias.
Mm. Yes.
It is accurate. It is true according to whatever has been entered into a blockchain, right?
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
mean, it's as accurate as what was entered. But I do think it's an opportunity for us to use the technology for many different service types, to service models, product models, to verify quality,
Mm.
to verify identity,
Yeah.
to verify skill sets, even
Mm.
capabilities,
Yeah.
your reputation.
Mhm.
There are many products that people have been working on that are related to skill sets. I mean, in the arts, I know of a group that was working on one for engineers for a while. Just to say, okay, well, anybody in the world is capable of doing this. Why
Mhm.
wouldn't you hire them? They have a really great reputation. I think that that is one way I see blockchain being able to help the Black community, the
Mhm.
diaspora,
Mhm.
globally. I'm not in the financial space, but what I do know is there is an opportunity to help the unbanked, underbanked as well.
Yes.
And I'm really interested in those opportunities. I know there have been advancements made, in the Caribbean already,
Yeah.
and I'm really excited to hear about those. And I think obviously Latin America too. I feel as though the more and more we look at opportunities like that to help individuals create financial inclusion,
Mhm.
and help people take advantage of wealth building,
Yes.
using the technology, using blockchain. I think that, again, back to that unbiased data.
Mhm.
I think it will create create some really interesting opportunities for the Black community.
Yeah, I agree with you. Um, and speaking to the different ladies, a lot of them agree with you as well. They've said the same exact thing. The fact that touching the unbanked remittance was another one that was brought up, with people being able to send money to back home, to the different countries, and allowing the ability to be inclusive for everyone and develop all kinds of use cases. One of the things that I'm realizing is that outside of the US, there is a value that's attached to the technology more so than the currency. Even though the currency, Bitcoin, is very popular in Nigeria, it's like Nigeria, I think, is number top three. Peru, Nigeria, and Argentina, I think, is one of the top three. Those are the top three countries who are really into what is it, Bitcoin transactions, and for rightful reasons, right? And so, but they also attach a value to it. There's a need for it, right? It's not for the investment aspect, like it kind of is in the US right now. But for them, it's like their livelihood is survival, and that's great. And I also think there's opportunities for the construction to also filter to those countries as well, because with Akon, right, trying to build the the digital city, that the smart city that he's trying to build, there's that feeds right into your realm as
Yep.
well.
Yeah, and to your point, I just participated in a responding to an RFP for
Mm,
a smart city as well, because there's opportunities to think about governance in a
mm,
different way, around what you give access, what you give people access to.
mhm,
And it kind of comes back to that data thing, right? Like if you understand the needs of communities, and can understand their demographic and understand where they live, and you can supply those neighborhoods, those
mhm.
urban developments, with what is needed based
Yes.
upon that community. And I think there's a ton of opportunity. I'm fascinated by governance and blockchain. There's a number of opportunities when it comes to smart cities for you to think about how that data is managed, because there's
Mhm.
so much data that's being collected and assessed and analyzed in order to supply needs for those individuals. So yeah, y- great example. Hopefully we win this one. Fingers crossed.
Yes, fingers crossed for you.
Thank you, thank you. But it's the I think the possibilities are endless, but we do have to be realistic, because there are behavioral changes that have to
Mm,
follow alongside it too.
yes.
We have a history here, at least here in America, and I'm not going to neglect other locations, but where data has been skewed for
Yes. Yes. Yes.
purposes that do not support Black communities.
Yes.
So we have to be careful to monitor that, and
Mhm.
to speak up and evaluate the technology to do what it needs to do to provide equity.
Yeah. And that's a great way for putting it on the blockchain, right? Because of accountability and the lack of trust, a trustless, environment that we are in. And I think, for the Black community alone, that's why I think it's really important for us to be one of, part of the early adapters to this. Because this is our future. This is the way that we're heading. And slowly but surely, we're all starting to realize this. And, someone had compared it to, I think it was Tanisha. Tanisha had compared it to the World Wide Web, right? She said that we, have gone through blockchain 1.0. We're in blockchain 2.0, and we're slowly moving to 3.0. This is the time for us to really latch on so that we could be ready when 3.0 comes on, and I think that's coming soon.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I am so happy that I finally got a chance to connect with you, so I really appreciate that. I know you can't talk about all your projects, but perhaps you want to plug some of the things that you're doing right now, as well as provide your social media handlers, so that people can get in contact with you.
Yeah, if anybody's interested in learning more about the built environment and how it connects to blockchain, you can certainly email me, Brittany, Brittanie at constructrr.com. That's Constructor. You can also check out the Construction Blockchain Consortium that I'm part of, and that is found at constructionblockchain.org. You'll see a lot of things that are going on there, lots of pursuits. The Construction Blockchain Consortium is tied to the University College London, that is making sure to develop a number of white papers that really evaluate the opportunities. I participated in writing a white paper around cash flow
Mm.
and procurement. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask me for that reference. And then last but not least, I'm super easy to find on LinkedIn. That's probably where I play around the most. So Brittany Campbell Turner, you can look me up, or Brittany CT is my handle. Most places I'm Brittany CT, just to make it easy on people. Some places it might be Brittany CT or Brittany underscore CT, but if you look me up, it's pretty straightforward.